session. So if you don't want to be on camera, because the videos do get shared on YouTube, then you're more than welcome to switch your camera off. I will be sharing my screen, so I won't be able to see everybody's face, but I would love everybody to please participate. So while this isn't a training session, this isn't a lecture, I'm not going to stand up here in front and declare that I know absolutely everything and everybody should be following my example. This is what I've been trying to do with these workshops is to have a discussion around certain topics relating to the Toastmasters International Speech Contest, especially the official contest. So previously, what we have done, in previous workshops, we've had a look at the rule book and gone through the rule book and any new changes that have come about this year. We've also spent time on the judges' ballot for the prepared contest, and we have spent time on the table topics ballot. So this week, we're going to be having a look at the judges' ballot for the evaluation contest. Now, from my side, being someone that has been on both sides of the stage, being a contestant and being a judge, from experience, I'd like to point out that if you are a contestant, the best starting place, the best way that you can prepare is to understand what you're going to be judged on and to have a deep and impersonal and an intimate knowledge of the judge's ballot and to speak to that judge's ballot. Because that is exactly how you are going to be judged. And that is at every single level. So at club level, we use exactly the same judge's ballot form at area level, at division level, at district level, and then for the prepared speech contest, again at international level, because that is the only contest that goes all the way through to international level. So if you are a contestant, I welcome you and I extend a warm open heart and hands to you, because this is going to be a good place to hear how your judges will be using that ballot when you are on that stage and you are competing for that great accolade of being the best in your club or your area or your division, and ultimately, hopefully, in the district. So welcome to you. Those of you that are organizing your speech contest, a warm welcome to you as well. It is important to understand what is expected of your role players. So the particular role player that we'll be exploring this afternoon is obviously the judges, because as an organizer, you need to be aware of what's going on in your contest. And if you are going to be doing any of the briefings, so the chief judge needs to brief the judges, the contest chair needs to brief the contestants and the other role players. It's important that you actually understand what is expected of your role players. So I'm glad that you were able to join us today. And then obviously our judges. Judges, we're going to open up the floor. Like I said, it's going to be an open discussion. I'd much rather have a conversation than a training session. And this afternoon, we're going to have a look at the evaluation contest judges ballot, and just go through it and have a discussion highlighting what we think is important and what we as judges focus on and have a look at. So I'm currently sharing my screen. I'm hoping everybody can see it. If you can't see my screen, please just give a shout out so that I can make a plan. Are there any problems? Everyone can see it. Okay. For each, like I said, for each contest, there is a different ballot. So please make sure, for those of you that are organizing and for those of you that are judging, that you are sitting with the correct judge's ballot before you even start that particular contest. I have got given written instructions from International that we need to use these ballot forms. We cannot use a Google version or an Excel version of these forms. We need to use the official forms. So please make sure that all of your role players do have the right forms. Lynette, yes, absolutely. Please go ahead. I can't hear you, Lynette. I don't know if you're muted. No, you're unmuted. I can't hear you.
It must have been my internet. I thought yours went for a ball. I just want to know, Kirsten, have the ballots changed? Do we need to download new ballots this year, or is it only the rule book that has changed?
It's only the rule book. Very good question. Thank you, Lynette. It's only the rule book that has changed. The ballot forms are still the same. There's been no changes made to the ballot forms. So yes, they are still the same. When you go onto the international website and you download the speech contest sets, it comes down in a zip file per contest. So you can download for the table topics contest, for the evaluation contest, and for the prepared speech contest. And in there is absolutely every single piece of paperwork that you and your team and your contestants, role players require. Even the certificates that you can issue and share at the end of the contest. So yes, please make use of the Toastmasters International Resources Library, download the zip file and make use of all of those resources. We will be updating the District 74 website with those resources and removing, like I said, all of the Excel resources that are currently up there, because we are no longer allowed to make use of those. We can only make use of these ballot forms. All right. So just to give a quick overview for those of you that have never ever seen a judge's ballot form, as you can see across the top, we are given space where we would write in the contestant's name. And we would, as a judge, we would be given that name by the contest chair, or it'll be printed on the program, or it will be shared by the host Toastmaster, because we are allowed to have a contest Toastmaster. Your contest chair, it is not compulsory for your contest chair to host a contest. Your contest chair can still oversee and manage the contest, but they can actually have a contest Toastmaster looking after the actual contest on the day, being that master of ceremonies. So you would then, in the top here as judges, you would put in the name of your contestants, and then as they speak, you are going to use this judging criteria for their particular evaluation that they give on that demo speech or test speech, which was delivered beforehand. That's out of 100, and it's broken up into 4 sections. So 40% goes to the analytical quality, 30% to recommendations that the speaker gives, 15% towards the technique they use when they give those recommendations, and 15% when they summarize. 15% of 100%. Basically 15 marks out of 100 go towards summary. So if an evaluation contestant does not give a summary and summarizes their points at the end, they automatically lose 15 points. And that is something maybe not all contestants know, and it's something we should be sharing when you do your contestants briefing. All right, so to all of the previous judges in the room, Lynette, do you want to start? What do you focus on? What do you have a look at, especially in the evaluation contest? And out of these judging items or judging criteria over here, do you have a way of identifying them? Do you have a way of listening out for them? How do you work when you judge?
This is the evaluation contest. So, Kirsten, what one listens to specifically is the focus on the quality of the feedback given. Is the feedback helpful to the participant? And is it, as it says here, analytical? And is it helpful? And how's it given back, the technique? And then, as you said, the summary of that. But the most important section here is the 40 marks for the analytical quality. So you have to focus when you're listening. You have to specifically block out everything else and focus on what's being said. And then I tend to make notes, just a couple of bullet points, say this was good or that was good, and then do the fill in the ballot in the minute silence, because the filling in the ballot, once you've got the names and stuff in, is quite easy, and particularly if you're working online. If you are working in a live situation, then it's perhaps a little bit more tricky, but you still should be able to fill in your numbers and add them up and sort of in your minute silence that you have between speakers.
Excellent. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, thank you. So Lynette has started the conversation. Who would like to add, or who would like to ask questions? Any other points that you guys would, anyone in the room would like to share with us, their personal experiences? I'm sharing my screen, so it's a little bit difficult to see everyone in the room. Please just mute yourself. Yes, please. Michelle, go for it.
I know there's no such thing as a stupid question, but I'm going to ask. I'm not sure I'm understanding what is the summation or the summary part. My concern is coming from an organizing space, so as contest chair and having to obviously brief the contestants. I don't want to give them misleading information. If someone asks me, what do you mean by summation, that those 15 points, what does the summation include? What does it look like, so that they know, or for my own awareness, what does it look like?
Yeah, what they need to aim for. Michelle, that's definitely not a stupid question. And the reason why I know it's not a stupid question is because Toastmasters International, on the back, if you printed this back to back, or if you print it on individual pages on page 2, tells us exactly what to look for. So you're not the only one that has ever asked for that question. Okay, so as judges, and as contestants, we should become very familiar with the descriptions and the explanation that Toastmasters International shares with us, because remember, this judging ballot is used at all levels in all official contests, exactly the same judge's ballot. So at every level, our contestants are going to be measured against exactly the same criteria. And as judges, we need to be very intimate with that criteria. So like Lynette was saying earlier on, you need to listen out to, as a judge, you need to listen out for those recommendations, that feedback that the evaluator or the speaker is now going to share. This is a very important part of the evaluation, because they're not only going to point out the strengths and the weaknesses, they need to give very specific recommendations. We need to judge looking for very specific recommendations. The recommendations need to be practical, helpful, and positive, and ultimately enable the speaker to improve going forward. That is what we're looking for. Now, all of this, like Lynette pointed out, needs to be delivered in an analytical way. In other words, we are looking at the speaker's presentation, not at the speaker. Not at the speaker. Nowhere when we are evaluating the contestant now who's giving this evaluation, nowhere are we asked to actually evaluate their presentation skills. There's nothing here about presentation skills. There's nothing here about vocal variety. There's nothing here about body language. However, the feedback that they're going to be giving, the evaluation that they're going to be delivering, is going to be covering those topics. And we need to make sure that when we are listening to their evaluation, that they are carefully analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of the presentation, not the person. And that is why it is weighted so heavily, is that the evaluation and the feedback that is delivered on that demo or that test presentation is actually on the presentation itself and not the person. While they are highlighting for us the strengths and weaknesses, are they being clear and logical in their comments? So in other words, is there a logical order, and is their feedback or their comments easy for us to understand? Do they identify specific strengths and weaknesses? In other words, it's not vague. It's not, we get the impression, and we as judges, we get the impression and are very much reassured that they are giving an evaluation on that particular speech. They're not giving an evaluation that they prepared last night, and this is a general evaluation they give everybody, telling everybody to focus on vocal variety or body language. So we look out for very specific, that the fact that they've highlighted strengths and weaknesses. That makes up 40% of the marks. Then we make sure that when they make recommendations to improve those weaknesses, that these are practical, helpful, positive, and should enable the speaker to improve. Okay, so when they are now making these suggestions, they must be very specific. The technique in which they make these recommendations is the manner in which they deliver it. They need to be sensitive to the feelings and needs of that test speaker, that demo speaker. So remember that we expect them to evaluate the presentation, and when they're actually giving feedback or points of growth, that they actually are sensitive to that speaker, inspiring them and encouraging them to speak going forward. And then, Michelle, the last section for that last 15 marks that you were talking about is how do they conclude the evaluation? And here is the key sentence. The conclusion should briefly summarize the evaluator's comments and suggestions and be positive and encouraging. Briefly summarize the evaluator's comments, so in other words, what they found positive, their suggestions, in other words, what their points of growth, and at the same time that they are summarizing, be positive and encouraging. Just that summary, that last paragraph, just before that 3-minute bell red light comes on, is worth a whole 15 marks on its own. Anyone else want to add to this? Comment? Any conversation? Please unmute yourself or put your hand up, because like I said, I can't see the whole screen. So please don't be shy. You Toastmasters, you all know how to talk. I don't think I have to encourage you to speak. 2 participants have raised their hands. I love it. Okay. So Dorothy, if you would like to go first, and then I'm not too sure if it's a Mr. or Mrs. Periola after that, but please, after Dorothy has finished speaking, please can you unmute yourself? Dorothy, go for it.
Thank you, Kirsten, and thank you all for contributions. Maybe to just add on to the previous question about the summary, what the summary is supposed to entail. I want to believe this is where the evaluator, having gone through the recommendations and the positive things that the speaker made, actually makes it a point to summarize the earlier communication in the summation part. And I believe that is very, very important, hence the 50 marks. Thank you. Back to you, Kirsten.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you for that share, and thank you for pointing that out. Before our next participant in the room speaks with us, I wanted to just point out something to the judges and the contestants in the room. The recommendations, your points of growth that they are speaking about, that you as the contestant, as the evaluator, are going to be covering in your evaluation. We as judges need to find 30 marks just for your points of growth by you sharing and making positive, specific, and helpful points of growth. Plus, we need to find 15 marks for your summary and making sure that it is specific and encouraging and inspiring at the same time. So that is already 45 marks of the possible 100 marks done. What I wanted to point out to you is that should be 45% of your time that you are up on that stage, minimum. So half of your time needs to be spent recommending and summarizing. A lot of evaluators in contests I've come to notice over the years are spending a lot of time up front talking about the positive attributes and how they have done similar things and how they've experienced similar situations and they can totally relate. And isn't it wonderful? We're all on the same planet together. 1.5 minutes is gone and that contestant hasn't earned a point. Not one. Not 1 point. Because nowhere here does it ask me as a judge to see if the evaluator is associating with the contestant, is quoting directly from the contestant's work, is highlighting and pointing out how the contestant's speech is so relevant to the modern world and to technology and the situation we live. Nowhere does it ask me to judge that. Nowhere. So you haven't earned a point as a contestant until you very specifically start highlighting their strengths, and then within a very short period of time, immediately are moving into the recommendation, allowing yourself enough time to summarize. So be very, very careful of that. Something else I wanted to point out is nowhere does it say anything here about your delivery. So as a judge, I drop my head. I don't even look at the screen. I don't look at the stage. It's got nothing to do with the way you're presenting or your vocal variety. You could literally, as a contestant, stand up there and read your notes. Straight off, read your notes. You don't even have to make eye contact with us. Nowhere in this ballot does it ask you to do that. And that's why you allowed your notes. It's nothing to do with your presentation. So that is something to really consider as a contestant, and for the judges, something to be really aware of, where you feel that someone has delivered this awesome evaluation. And isn't it brilliant how they tied in the rest of the world and the real life situation? It's got nothing to do with this contest. Nothing to do with this contest. Okay, so our participant, is it Mr. or Mrs. Pariella?
Hi, Kirsten, it's Mr. Thank you very much.
Please help me pronounce your first name.
It's Olatunji.
Olatunji. Thank you, Olatunji. Yes, please share with us.
Thanks. It's a comment slash a question, but just wanted to get your thoughts around evaluating online and the logistical aspect of having two screens. And the comment that's linked to it is I delivered an evaluation last night. Unfortunately, I only had one screen, but I do think it could have worked better being able to see the person I was evaluating while referring to my notes. Just wanted to get some thoughts around your experience with regards to that.
For the contestants?
Both for the contestant and the person doing the evaluation.
Okay, so when we have a contest online, obviously now your demo speaker is on your screen, and it then is up to the contestant to obviously pay attention to that demo or test speaker while they are taking notes. It's a very similar situation when you are in person, because your demo or test speaker is standing on the stage and you need to take notes, and you don't have a keyboard, you literally have a pen and paper and possibly something hard to press on. So for the contest, the evaluation contest, from a contestant point of view, it's a very similar experience. You aren't able to watch 100% of that presentation if you are taking notes at the same time. If, as a contestant, you wait until you've listened to the whole entire presentation and then make your notes, remember you have 5 minutes in that breakout room or that separate room, if it's physical environment, to make your notes. So you don't necessarily have to make your notes while that person is speaking. So that is up to the contestant, how they're going to operate from that point of view. From a judge's perspective, we have a huge advantage compared to the table topics contest and the prepared speech contest, in that with the evaluation contest, we do not have to look at the speaker. Like I said earlier on, we don't judge on any presentation skills whatsoever, zero. There's nothing here. So we don't even have to look at the speaker. So having a single screen or just a single stage or just the sound coming out serves the purpose for the evaluation contest for the judges. Does that answer your question? Anyone want to contribute? Anyone got anything
Yes,
to
thank you.
add to that question?
Thanks.
Anyone want to add to that? Any comments?
Kirsten,
Tanji,
yes, oh,
sorry?
sorry, someone else had their hand up before me.
Is Alachanji, is your hand still up, or can I lower your hand? Do you wanted to add?
Oh, no, thanks. I'm done. I'll put it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Erica.
Hi, Kirsten. It was nothing to add with that to that question, but I just wanted to share some experience on the analytical quality. I think a mistake some evaluators make is they repeat the speech.
Yes.
And again, if you look at the description under analytical quality and there's nowhere that it says, did they repeat the speech? So for contestants, just to be aware of that, it's not about, and then you said this, and then you went here, and then you did this, and then you did that. As you said, it's wasting time. You're wasting time, and it's a zero, right? There's no use in that. And then something I've seen done really well, which also for me adds to this analytical quality, is where you give a recommendation, not just say, maybe you should use vocal variety. I saw a fantastic one. I think it was at one of those IOD sessions that we had. A fantastic evaluation where they said it was a vocal variety point, but he said, when you said it this way, but listen to the difference if you had said it this way. And I just thought, wow, right? In terms of giving really helpful, useful feedback, that was it, right? Because I could, as a contestant, you can hear straight away the difference and the impact it would make. So for me, those are the things that just my experience that really make great evaluations and feeds to those points that they have there.
Thank you for that share. I think that is very, very true. Thank you, Erica. That is a great share. Anyone want to talk to what Erica's just shared with us? I saw that there was another participant that had their hand up, but they've Lynette. Yes, you've got your hand up, so Lynette, do you want to?
Yeah, it's me. I like what Erica just said. It's good. My contribution is slightly different, and it's when you're judging anything, and maybe it's more prevalent in the international speech. Don't just sit there and listen to the speech and think, oh, wow, this has left me with a warm, fuzzy feeling, therefore I must give them full marks. Judging means you have to know the criteria, and you have to listen, and you have to evaluate on that day. It's also, don't fall into the trap of thinking, this is a champion speaker. I've been listening to them over the last 6 months, and they're really developing well. And based on that, give them, based on your historical knowledge of the speaker, give them better marks than somebody who may well on the day have delivered a better speech.
Correct.
Or a better evaluation.
I couldn't agree with you more, Lynette. Absolutely. So what Lynette is referring to, for those of you that haven't seen the full ballot form, is she's speaking very nicely to the code of ethics. So we need to, as judges, demonstrate utmost objectivity. We need to consciously avoid bias of any kind. So we cannot consider any sort of personal consideration to that contestant, whether it's where they are in the Toastmasters geographic map, or how old they are, what their gender is, their race, their creed, nationality, so forth and so on. At the same time, we can't time the speeches, so we have we can't influence our marks or have our judges' marks influenced by how much time you spoke. That's got nothing to do with it, and that's something also to consider. A lot of contestants aim for the full time, and if you don't have sufficient content for the full time, don't waffle. Don't distract from that really worthwhile content that you already have. Because as judges, we have no criteria to judge you on time. Zero. The only thing that can happen to you if you speak too little or if you speak too much, is you will be disqualified. So obviously you want to speak past that green light, and you want to speak before, as that red light comes on, you want to be able to stop speaking. So that is something to consider. We need to also speak to here, Lynette, it's not actually listed here, but it is in the judge's briefing where it says, oh, you know where it is? It's in the eligibility form for the judges. So let me quickly just go and open that up. In the eligibility form where you sign the code of ethics, it actually states what Lynette was talking about very clearly for our judges, that you need to oh, no, it's not here. You know where it is? It's in the handbook. I'm getting confused with all the documents. It's in the handbook where it actually points out that as judges, you are judging this presentation. You're judging in the moment right now. You let go of any knowledge of that contestants and their performance level that you have previously experienced. We need to judge right in that moment at that contest for that topic, for that presentation, and not to bring anything else into the presentation. It's very important. And to always, like Lynette was highlighting, always stick to the ballot. She's highlighted something very critical here. I see there's another hand up, and I'm going to go into the group and let Estelle share with us her thoughts. And then I will talk about the actual marking sheet. Estelle, what would you like to share with us?
Hi, Kirsten. Thank you so much. So I want to know, if the person doesn't give a summation, do you give no marks?
Correct. 0.
No marks with no summation.
No summation, no marks. If there's nothing
Thank
to
you.
mark, how can I give a mark? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Judges in the room, do you agree with me? Any of the judges want to say yay or nay? They agree or disagree with me? If there's no summary, there's no summation, no marks. Correct?
Well, that's what the form says, so it has
That's what
to
the
be.
form says. Exactly. Lynette, Erica, we're nodding, eh? We agree. Michelle, you wanted to ask another question. Go for it.
Yes, there was the last point. If you scroll down to the code of ethics again, the last point on there was about conflict of interest. What would potentially be classified outside of maybe being family members? If it's a mentor-mentee situation, would that also be classified as a potential conflict of interest?
Not necessarily, well, ethically or legally, not necessarily, but it would be up to how, up to that mentor and contestant, how close their relationship was. What I would discourage, because that is literally the only sentence, that is what we work with when we talk about conflict of interest. So what I would ethically encourage is that if the contestant has been coached or mentored for this particular contest, to not have that mentor or coach on the judging panel. That would be a conflict of interest. Anybody that is married, anybody who's in any sort of relationship, mother, child, auntie, uncle, absolutely, that's a conflict of interest. Yeah. Anyone got anything to add to that?
It's going to be up to the judge to be ethical and declare that,
Correct.
right, Kirsten? Because the contestant won't know who the judges are.
Correct. 100%.
So this is really where the ethics of the judge comes into play, to actually look at the contestant list and say, is there any chance that I have a conflict of interest, and then recuse themselves, right?
Recuse, absolutely, Erica, definitely, because the judges are kept secret. So it is definitely up to the judge to put up their hand and say, hold on a sec, for this contest, I can't be a judge. When we have 3 contests happening at the same time, let's say at club level, you are having all 3 contests in one night or one afternoon. You can have your judges, your collection of judges, but maybe that one particular judge has a conflict of interest in one of the contests. That doesn't mean you remove them from all of the contests. They've just removed or recused themselves from one of the contests. They don't have to leave the entire contest. Lynette, you want to add to that?
Yes, I do. And at club contests and area contests, this becomes difficult. So what people do is they will try to have 2 judges from each club who's participating in the area contest. When it moves on to division contests, you still try and balance the number of judges from the different clubs. But when it moves beyond that, then if you've got a participant from club A, then you try not to have a judge from the same club, just to try and eliminate that conflict of interest, so that I'm from the same club as a contestant, so therefore I favor the contestant. So higher up the level, they won't let you judge if you are from the same club as the contestants in that contest.
Very good.
And it can work the other way, right? It's not only favor. It sometimes, if someone's from your club, you're harder on them, right? So you think, oh, I need to fix this. So you're harder on them. So sometimes it's to the disadvantage as well, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Erica. And Lynette, 100%. In the rule book, to all of the chief judges and contest chairs that are in the room this afternoon, please understand, in the rule book, it gives very specific guidance on who your judges should be at each level. So exactly like Lynette was saying, at area level, you have every club represented, or you have completely independent judges that have absolutely no association with any of the clubs in your area. And so that passes on upwards. There are very specific guidelines or instructions, rather, because it's the rule book, in the rule book, of who your judges should be. And exactly, as Erica has highlighted, it's because their favoritism can either be positive, overly positive, or it can be negative. So it's always important that as the organizers, you have a look at that rule book, and you have that conversation with your judges, definitely. And make your judges aware in the judges briefing. So I just want to close by pointing out to you, for those of you in the rooms, that when we judge, I just wanted to highlight, we have 4 different sections or groupings of marks. So if the presentation that you are giving is of a Toastmaster standard competition level, then you literally sit on you sit as fair. So it's fair that you are in this contest. Excuse me. If you slightly exceed that baseline, then you're going to be good. If you are now jumping way past that baseline, then you are going to be very good. If you are phenomenal and have blown the socks off your judges, then you're going to be excellent. I was asked this question in the last workshop, do I ever give full marks? And my answer, it was actually the last 2 workshops, and my answer will always be no, I don't always give full marks. It's very difficult to earn full marks. Erica, I think that you said once or twice you've given full marks to somebody.
I've never actually judged an evaluation.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've done others, but not evaluation.
Lynette, have you given full marks to anyone?
No, Kirsten, I don't, because if you've got 7 or 8 people in your lineup and you give somebody's exceptional and you give him full marks, the next person might be equally good, and then you're stuck. And you end up, how do you give something better than full marks?
Correct.
So I tend to go for good and very good, and I won't go into fair too often, but I mark in that level so that you've got an ability to change a mark. Because the other thing is, if you end up with a tie on your sheet, you've got to have an idea of who. Say number 4 and 5 end up tied on your total. You've got to have an idea that you can remember as 4 was actually just a little bit better than 5, so that you can then break that tie. So I don't give full marks, just ethically. I just don't do it.
Yeah. So what Lynette has shared with you is one way that that a lot of judges judge. Lynette's actually comparing or allowing for comparison. Am I correct, Lynette? Between the speakers, between the contestants.
You're not specifically comparing them, you're evaluating each one, but you have to sort of keep some sort of mental idea in case you end up on your own ballot sheet with a tie, and then you've got to try and think, well, who made a slightly better impression on me out of these two people that are tied on my sheet.
Okay. So what Lynette is referring to, which is really important for the judges, we cannot have a tie as a judge. We have to break our own ties. This first place, second place, and third place only allows for a single name. So when we sign and hand in this ballot form, we have to have broken our own tie. So for me, when I judge, and I've mentioned this in the other workshops, I don't compare the contestants. I'm extremely analytical. I go and allocate marks according to the criteria. So for the analytical section, there's a total of 40 marks. So each one of these gets 20 marks. And I decide that, you know, out of those 20 marks, they were clear for most of the time. So I'm going to give them 15 marks. And were they focused, out of 20, I will find a mark for them. And that's how they will get their mark here. So I actually go and take this mark. So here it's 30. So each one of these are 10. So in this little block now, I will have, you know, 2 marks in the corner, plus I'll have 3 marks in this corner. Over here, I will have 3 marks. Over here, I've taken 15 and divided by 3. They have 3 marks there. And then over here at the end, if they usually either get 0 or they get somewhere over here because they've actually summarized. But what I'm looking at here is that there's the conciseness, I give 7 marks, and encouraging, I give it out of 8. So for each of these blocks, for each of my contestants, that's how I mark, and then that total mark gets added up. So what this does is it forces me as the judge to stay focused on that criteria only. That is the only thing that I am looking at, is that criteria, so that I'm not distracted by the awesome, you know, vocal variety and brilliant presentation skills and engaging conversation that the evaluator had that I'm now judging. I need to judge based on exactly that. So exactly like Lynette's saying, she's doing something very similar. She's just not making as many marks as I am. But you heard what she said right at the beginning. She makes notes where she's made notes for herself what was good in that particular contestant's presentation. Correct, Lynette? I'm remembering correctly? Where you make your own marks, your own notes?
Oh yes, I would generally have a piece of notepaper that I would make some sort of notes on, but the little points inside the squares are very good too. Or the little marks towards the total.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So to have that extra piece of paper where you actually do make, not like Lynette says, that you've got to concentrate for those 3 minutes. And I'm for the other judges in the room, Erica, I'm sure you go through the same. You are so focused on those 3 minutes that possibly you don't have enough time to do math, and it might be easier to do English notes. So what Lynette is suggesting is can definitely work for judges. I think it's an excellent idea to be able to make those little notes. So then you would then allocate marks afterwards to those notes that you have made. Like I said, my brain is a numbers logical girl. So to me, the numbers just come faster than the English words, as you notice in the way that I speak. You would have picked up on that already. I wish I was able to speak in machine code rather than the English language. So the numbers come to me easier, and that's why you know, I do rely on the numbers. Like I said, we all have to use this form, and the Excel form will no longer be available. So please become intimate with this form. If you are more comfortable as a judge printing it out, then print it out and fill it in with a pen. If you are comfortable typing, then practice typing as a judge, filling this in. And to all contestants, please go through this form, all of the judges' ballots for all of the contests you will be competing in, and make sure you are very intimate with the criteria that you will be judged on. To all the contestant chairs and chief judges in the room, again, as well, please be very intimate with these forms so that you can refer to them when you are briefing and organizing your role players. Ladies and gentlemen, it's already 1 minute past 6 on my side. Oh, it's just changed to 2 minutes past 6. I want to thank all of you for joining this workshop. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your participation. Thank you very much. I'm hoping some of you, well, all of you have got a takeaway from this particular workshop, and I look forward to seeing you again next month when we will have another look at the rule book and go through it, especially for your organizing teams. Thank you so much, everybody.
Make sure you sign your form.
Yes, judges, make sure you sign your form. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Absolutely. There's a big section here for your signature. See here? Signature of judge plus your name. If your name and signature is not there, your vote doesn't count. Thank you, Lynette. Very good point. Thank you. I should make that the thumbnail on YouTube if I had the skills. Sign your form, judges. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lynette. Thank you so much. Thank you, Erica. Thank you to everyone else that asked questions. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.